Welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Minions of the Zoo. If it's Tuesday, that must mean I'm Skep Tock. I'll be your host this evening, your keeper, and with me I have Minions Prospero
Hello.
and the Harry Channel.
Hello. What the hell is
Welcome.
that on your logo? Is that Christmas stuff?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that's it.
is.
Yeah, absolutely. Christmas
Jesus.
stuff. It
Well,
must be Christmas.
Not even
Christmas o'clock
Thanksgiving yet.
somewhere.
I
It's not
know.
even Thanksgiving. What are you doing?
I saw it and I just was like, God, even Skep has yeeted Thanksgiving into the sun. I am a Thanksgiving enthusiast. So I am one of those people that is like, there will be no Christmas until after Thanksgiving. I draw a line.
We'll go generic.
Ah.
So,
you got to put the Twitter bird up there.
Yeah, I've been off Twitter basically for a few days. I got a chance to look at a couple of things, but not much. Down in San Antonio for my dad's 95th birthday. That was
Happy birthday to your
kind
dad.
of a fun thing. Yeah, it was big fun, and a good time was had by all. It was good to gets as much of that part of the family together gets together, so that's kind of fun too. And have to yeah, there are geez, I guess there must have been about 25 or 30 people all showed up from all over the country, and some people from France and even Russia
Wow.
showed up for my dad's birthday. So it was big doing. But I've been out of the loop for a few days. What's been going on? Anything good?
Hammer time.
Well, I don't know. Let's see. There was this African American dude,
Mm-hmm.
bought Twitter.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is he black appearing?
No, he's not named Yee. But he's being blamed for all the anti-Semitism on Twitter
Of course.
because it wasn't there before. I mean, this is not a new occurrence, okay? There may have been an uptick because there's been an uptick in people testing how free the speech is on Twitter, but which has included all the juvenile crap that you can expect it to include. Look, I said poopy.
I'm an edgelord.
Yeah,
I'm an edge lord.
look at that hard R I just typed. Good God, it's oh my God, that is just so 2015. But it's just the
Pepe. Lol.
yeah, really. I mean, it's just like I'm surprised somebody hasn't tied Elon buying Twitter to Gamergate. I shit
Yeah.
you not. I am surprised it hasn't happened.
Return of the Groiper.
Some Molly Jung Fast type person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Jung. This all has to do with Gamergate. Yeah, right. Oh my God. But it was
It is good to see Brianna Wu getting a new lease on life, though.
son of a gun. I haven't checked in on her recent spate of nervous breakdowns. What have they?
She's just as crazy as she ever was. She's just as absolutely nut city as she ever was.
Well, I wasn't expecting that to change particularly, but
You were thinking that the everything was going to even itself out and reach some sort of equilibrium? I don't think so.
Yeah, I was hoping she'd get better.
It's equilibrium like sliding down a giant mountain of shale. You know, you're just sitting there trying to reach equilibrium, but you're just picking up speed, and there's like rocks flying everywhere. It's just not good.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh yeah, she does think that Elon as a daily main character is more boorish than Trump.
Mm-hmm.
That's her memory's failing her. That's all I've got to say.
Her mind failed her.
Although I do have to admit, it is delightful to have somebody by Twitter who knows how to troll on Twitter. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my juvenile side really.
I tend to think he appreciates a good troll more than he's brilliant at it. He doesn't really make a lot of effort to be, mega troll.
Oh no,
but he understands like all of us. He loves a good troll.
Oh, he's a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a 15-year-old with a Twitter account. Ligman Johnson had it coming with the eggplant emoji and the water droplets.
Wow.
I mean, that's just that's
trollacious.
Yes, but it was perfect in response to the number of people that fell for Mike Johnson and Ruhal Ligma losing their jobs at Twitter. Oh God, that was almost as good as Shia LaBeouf's "He Will Not Divide Us," and people just showing up at that.
Yeah.
Wearing Trump gear. It was.
Oh, wait, you got rid of yours. Fine.
Tricked you.
There, now we all match. Okay. Sorry, go on.
But just the number of people that, and for CNBC to basically be Ligma, Johnson lose their jobs. It's great. Nobody vetting these people, just running with the story. Journalism.
Yeah, I was going to say, so kind of business as usual.
Yes. So you had real life, it was free bleeding all over again.
Oh, God.
It's just...
The
live action version
of social media were
it's the live action version of 4chan to have those guys stand outside of Twitter with boxes and stuff in it and tell their sad sack story and then have the names that they had. But I thought it was pretty damn entertaining nonetheless. Like I said, my inner 15-year-old thought it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of people just losing their shit. And oh God, they were so convinced all the major advertisers were going to leave Twitter.
Oh yeah, count on it. They don't like money anymore.
Yeah, and now
they'll swear off money after this injustice, trust me.
And now they're printing the names of all the major advertisers so that people can harass them because they didn't do their
in case the major advertisers don't jump off Twitter fast enough to suit them.
Yes. Yeah, and the thing is they just have to have somebody do their heavy lifting for them.
Sure.
They wanted everyone to huff off over this horrible Elon person buying Twitter and being just such a meanie pants. And all these evil white supremacists have now been let back on Twitter and they're saying hate things. And that's why Paul Pelosi got attacked in his home.
Mm-hmm.
The timing of that was tragically convenient. But the notion that instantaneously, and then of course some people were sane enough to realize that's not possible, so it had to be Trump's rhetoric. And the rhetoric of the scene, Marjorie Taylor Greene's, she should be arrested. Everybody should be arrested. These people immediately go to Dragnet, except with German accents. It's stunning. Rounds them up. Instead of round up the usual suspects, it's like the Hogan's Heroes version of it. except they're calling the people they're rounding up fascists.
Round up the usual suspects against that wall.
Yeah, well, round up the usual suspects, put them in the Gestapo car, haul them off to headquarters, and beat them.
And put them against the wall.
Yeah, and then put them against the wall. Yeah, you don't have to. When you have the snazzy uniforms, you have to show them off. Okay?
Yep.
They went to a lot of trouble to do those snazzy uniforms. So, the Chinese, boring.
Yeah, those silver skulls don't polish themselves.
Yeah,
You gotta buff that up
no
there.
titting Totenkopf. It's
Right.
just
Tough room.
yeah, but it's absolutely entertaining from a sitting in a burning room. This is fine point of view. I just had to sit and laugh at it, which I did most of Saturday morning. And laugh and laugh and laugh. I spent more time on Twitter than I'd spent the last year. Saturday morning. Just
Are you better or worse for it?
well, because I was laughing, I'm better for it.
Well, that's a good thing.
I mean, it was cathartic,
Hmm.
but it was equally depressing. I mean, if I was going to care about the future of civilization, let's phrase it that way. If I were to care about the future, yeah, it was depressing. Because these people are just pathetic. And then concurrently, with the whole Twitter meltdown and that stuff, you did have the story out of San Francisco. And of course, that led to all the Pepe Lols having to have their little say on Twitter. And of course, they're all horrible, soulless fucks. But then the people who keep receipts started showing up. And all those people who were scolding the world for saying anything the least bit untoward in their mind about the attack on Paul Pelosi were found to have said pretty rude things when Rand Paul was attacked.
Oh yeah, they don't really mind political violence if it happens to the right people.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. It's bring on the brown shirts, bring on the black shirts. It's God. There are times that I think we are living in 1935 Italy. And that includes the mentality on both sides. Because there's some stuff I read from the so-called, I guess you would say, people who are more aligned with my way of seeing the world overall. Some of the shit they say, and I'm just like, oh God, stop it. This isn't helping. Yeah, I get it when the casual observer thinks some MAGA people are real shitbags. Because they're certainly acting like shitbags in public social media forums.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not covering themselves in glory, and they're certainly not doing anybody any favors, and they're certainly not helping their savior. And I do wish they'd stop.
For my part, I just wish they'd shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah, I am so tired of going through my feed and seeing almost the same bullshit.
Super ultra mega blah blah blah.
Yeah, and it's almost the same. Am I right? Raise your hand. Bullshit that you get out of Occupy Democrats or Brooklyn Bad.
Let's go out and kill us some liberals.
Yeah, and it's like, well, saying, well, they said it first. It's like no longer an 8th grade girl's bathroom. We're really literally in kindergarten as far as some of the rhetoric goes.
Yep, I'm with you.
And I do understand part of that is when they go low, we go lower.
Right.
because there was no going higher. The people that claimed to be going higher gave up going higher and went really low. And I get the need to kick back. I do want to point out to people that it is a well-known phenomenon in football that the person that hits back gets the penalty.
Oh, yeah. It's always the reaction.
It's the second person that gets the penalty. So just keep that in mind, because it's how you can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Snatch victory from snatch defeat. Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
Feed victory to defeat.
Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Jesus Christ, after the last 2 years, no shit. I mean, I've just been hearing nonsense so long that I can't formulate normal sentences any longer. There are times that I wonder, am I the insane one? Is this some kind of really elaborate Twilight Zone thing?
The Kafka question.
Yes. Am I...
Well,
I don't.
Question.
I have no idea. I rolled out of bed one day and I had 8 legs.
He's got spare eyes out of the deal.
Yeah. And the ability to flatten myself and go under a refrigerator, but that's not all that useful. Turns out.
I know at your new place, don't they have limbo contests?
No shit, no.
No,
but they do karaoke, which I have yet
probably better for a over 55 thing, karaoke.
Yeah, we play cornhole, and everybody's itching for a pickleball court.
Wow.
Trust me, I swear.
A lot of information there.
Swear to God, they're a walking meme. The pickleball enthusiasts are a walking meme. So
pickleball.
Yes.
I'm not old enough or not
it's
East
ping
Coast
pong
enough
and
to know
badminton.
what the hell it is.
Ping pong and badminton had a baby, and they called it pickleball.
Ping pong and badminton had a baby.
There's a professional pickleball. Just
they
so you
called
know,
it football.
Yeah, and I mean, there's what it was football. The little pumpkin they kick up and down the field. That's a great bit if people haven't heard it. Andy Griffith's What It Was football.
That was what propelled his first comedy album to any sales at all.
What do you believe? Well, I believe I'll have me another big orange. Think you have to appreciate Southerners to really appreciate it, but I found it amusing after hearing about it all my life, finally hearing a recording of it when I was an adult and said, I get it now. Well, it's like as a kid, I didn't appreciate Jack Benny to the extent that I appreciate him now because I needed to learn the importance of the straight man and how difficult it has to be the straight man.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the face of people like Mel Blanc, pulling some of the Sue, she sews. It's just see,
But
so you say you have a sister.
I don't think that was the amazing thing about Jack Benny. Well, as amazing as the fact that he was comfortable enough with his craft that he didn't run from negative space. Or sort of the comedy equivalent of it, because the last thing most comedians will do is let silence exist.
Correct.
And so he would not only play the straight man, but he would sit there and do essentially nothing, maybe have a little bit of a look on his face and let that uncomfortable silence sink in and then react. And most comedians could not discipline themselves to let that happen.
Like actors cannot discipline themselves to stillness. I heard, I think it was Bruce Willis at Inside the Actors Studio talking about the hardest thing to learn in acting is stillness.
Well, Gene Wilder could do it in comedy and acting.
To do nothing. I mean,
trying to remember
absolutely nothing.
Who was the guy that the comedian, the really weird one that was on Taxi that ended up wrestling people for some reason?
Oh, Andy Kaufman.
Oh, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman could do it.
Yes.
But most comedians cannot do it.
Yes, but it's the negative, as you say, silence, particularly for comedians, and stillness for actors. Don't be doing anything. Just don't be doing anything. There are loads of it can't go on too long. You know, again, it's part of the timing of the craft. But yeah, quiet can continue to be funny. I actually find that kind of comedy a little bit easier to deal with than frenetic, constant movement. And it's funny because there's some people that can do both.
Yeah, well, you don't see Carrot Top and Gallagher spend much time not moving.
Correct.
And even somebody like Robin Williams really didn't do it either. I don't think it's because he couldn't. It's just it wasn't really his.
That wasn't his style. Yeah.
Yeah, but Craig Ferguson could just do the awkward pause.
Stephen Wright.
You know, touch my sparkly ball.
Yes.
Smell my finger.
Yeah,
he could do that kind of stuff because
Stephen Wright was a deadpan comedian, right?
Oh yeah, he could do it.
Yeah, but yeah, Craig Ferguson could just lay a comedic turd on the desk directly in front of a guest and then just sit there and look at them.
Yeah,
and wait to see what they're going to do. And the best people did nothing. They just continued to look back at him. Some people did when he came up with that notion of how to close the interview, you know, an awkward pause, or he got some incredibly good reactions from people, you know, who were extremely good at doing it. And you were seeing pantomime kind of at its highest form. He didn't need to do it with Stephen Fry because they'd still be sitting there doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While thinking about Nietzsche. Or maybe they would have started thinking about Kierkegaard by now. But if y'all haven't seen his sit down with Stephen Fry, that was delightful.
You know, producing comics like Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, you compare them to the Samantha Bees.
Oh, Jesus, you can't.
Whoopi Goldbergs of the United States. I'm gonna say Britain's got a better quality of comedy than we do.
They do and they don't. They have some superlative comedic actors and writers.
There's funny comedians too.
And we have as well. Yeah, and I mean,
I haven't heard any funny comedians lately.
Not
except
for a long time.
Pache Dave Chappelle.
Well, okay, but Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie are not young men anymore. You know,
but they're still very funny.
Where would they be able to break through the barrier of that's not funny? That's out there now in both our cultures. I'm sorry, Great Britain.
I actually think they would be chased away from the vocations that they went into. Those two minds could have done many, many different things.
Oh, of course they could have. Hugh Laurie would probably be playing music professionally or just acting, as would Stephen Fry.
I think I always figured Stephen Fry would end up being
a
kind
professor.
Or that
Don actually.
Yeah, kind of an Oxford Don type, you know, holding court with this.
There's a bit of the ascetic monk philosopher about him too. I think he could have kind of happily gone up in the tower and venerable beaded his life away. Just fine, thank you.
Yeah.
But he's awfully peripatetic, so I don't know. Talk about a frenetic mind. He's so much calmer now because he has better control of his illnesses, so to speak. Became aware of and sought treatment for his depression.
Yep.
Before it was too late. And, but look, publishing books and he can have a sit down with someone like Jordan Peterson. And do they get past 2 or 3 topics in the course of an hour? Just the mention of two, hardly. Because both of them are endless parenthetical expression people. If you know what I mean. Particularly Peterson. He's almost got philosophical ADD. Somebody will bring
explain what you mean by that.
Well, somebody will bring up something and he'll go, that makes me wonder if, and he doesn't go in an entirely different direction from where.
The shiny things, the squirrels are philosophical.
Are philosophical in their nature with him.
Yeah.
Or
he goes off chasing them. Yeah.
Or he'll have a thought, but then want to discuss it out loud with the person with whom he's speaking. I find that I find it a perfectly comfortable way to spend an hour. It would drive a lot of people nuts. Get back to what you were talking about. And I could have listened to Fry and Peterson speak for another hour easily.
Oh, are you kidding? Yeah, those two.
And they both come at certain matters from very different points of view. But because they're mature men of
they're also both
intellect
men.
Yes.
There's a kindness to both of them that's very attractive.
There is, and it's simple human decency. Has never
Have you no human decency? Hang on, I'll check.
Yeah, there are times that I wonder if I have any left.
I hear you.
I mean, I think personally I do. But whether in my internal narration, I really have the patience I display is another matter.
Nobody has the patience they display.
Yeah, it's just all a lie.
Yeah,
we're just men and women.
It's a really interesting.
We're actors strutting and fretting our hour up on the stage, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
we're poor players.
Right.
Yeah, poor players. Well, yeah, because I mean, my internal bubble is the fuck most of the time.
Yeah.
I saw a description of Gen X being the generation that basically that is their.
Where'd you see that?
I'm trying to remember what it was, and it wasn't the thought bubble so much as their expressions. Like this generation has XYZ kind of, and theirs is like, well, fuck. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I think that's shared a good bit by a fair number of boomers. Shit. Here we go again. I don't know.
Harry, what you been up to, man?
Being pissed off at whatever comes after Generation Z. Those little bastards. Yesterday, I went ahead and set up, got some pumpkins set up and put some little LED tea lights in them so they won't burn down the house if they decide to throw them or whatever. And put candles in the windows and put the orange light on the porch and all this sort of stuff. How many knocks on the door do you think I got last night? I'll
0.
tell you. It was 4. 4. Now, I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Why 4? And I was talking to some customers today, and I actually showed up a little late for a meeting. And as I show up, they're basically having this conversation about this same topic, complaining about how they don't know what the hell happened. Almost nobody showed up. And then I remembered all the memes. I guess there was some sort of thing floating around in the ether, people saying, oh yeah, they're trying to smuggle fentanyl in children's candy from Mexico.
Oh, there was a warning put out actually about that.
Well, was it an actual warning or was it just a stupid rumor? I mean, who gave was it somebody sort of in authority who gave the warning, or was it just somebody spouting off about, hide your kids, hide your wife? Was it one of those kind of
razor
things?
blades in the Snicker bars?
Yeah, so it was that sort of horse shit. And I think that might have been it, but I actually kind of suspect that might not be the whole thing, because there's a saying, I think it's excuses are lies one tells others, rationalizations are lies we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that people just use this as an excuse to just go, the hell with it. I can buy my own candy. I'm not leaving the house. I'm just going to sit here and watch internet porn and play video games or whatever and just do nothing. I think that in the course of 12 months, these people have degraded to the point where they just can't bother to get up and go trick or treat. That involves walking and going outside, and it's just, no. I think that's what's really happening. I think the fentanyl thing just became a convenient way to beg off.
Well, also there are so many communities doing these trunk or treat things, and they were doing them on Sunday. Do you remember when that was big for kids to go to the mall, Skep?
Oh, sure.
I participated because I was a merchant with a store in the mall, and very little depressed me more than kids marching around a mall collecting candy, because I had a great time on Halloween when I was a kid. I just thought it was, because I was in a neighborhood just full of kids, and it was just amazing. There'd be like 135 kids to come to the house in a night. That kind of...
And 135 houses for you to go to.
Damn near. Yeah, the last year I went, which my parents were not pleased I went because they thought I was too old. I was like, screw you. I'm going this last time because you will allow me now to walk the entire neighborhood. I did, man. I covered a couple miles inside one neighborhood and made a killing. My mother didn't complain when I brought her home the candy she liked. But my dad was more polite. He'd just sit and look sad till I'd give him my mounds. But I loved Halloween. I still do love Halloween. We had a little thing here. Again, it was daylight, but it was still cool because they had a get together for grandkids at the clubhouse, and anybody that wanted to participate, they'd ask that they be outside with their candy. So kids didn't have to walk up to doors and back and walk up. Since it was going to be daylight, there wasn't a great way to signal. Like the front porch lights on kind of thing.
Right.
Was always the signal. But we only had about 8 or 9 kids. We had that at the other neighborhood, but at least we had kids. And I had decorated our front porch, and my next door neighbor had really decorated her front porch, bless her. It looked great. But she used to help build sets for a ballet company. So that woman can, I'm not competing with her. I'd know better than to do that, but it's,
the way that Brenda and I did it last night was to set up in the driveway just 2 chairs. We didn't decorate the house. We didn't put a single orange, anything, not so much as a pumpkin out, but we took 2 chairs and a whole bunch of candy down down to the sidewalk and just serviced the kids as they went by. You know, they would put a little candy in everybody's bag, and I bet we put candy in. I would estimate about well in excess of 100, but less than 150, like 110, 120 kids.
That does my heart good. There is happiness, Harry, in Texas.
Oh yeah, we had mobs and mobs and mobs.
We are having mild weather.
Yep, very mild.
Yep, so
it was absolutely gorgeous. It was just a beautiful evening.
It's been in the 70s the last 2 days, and I mean, I was in shorts today until 7 o'clock in the evening. It was like
Monterey weather here.
It's bizarre. We're having Native American Peoples Day, summer, and then we'll have third false fall, and then we'll have another Indian summer, and then we'll have real fall in time for winter.
Now, did you mean dot or feather on that Indian?
Feather.
Is that racist? Was that racist again?
Something racism.
Yeah, again, you mean still.
Yeah, still.
Still racist. I'm still white, therefore I'm still racist.
Well, it's kind of like
Abraham X. Candy. I am.
It's kind of like the two group of idiots fighting over who was the most aggrieved when they tore the Columbus statue down here in Richmond. You know, they're fighting about who was the most aggrieved over a statue of a man who never set foot in the continental United States. In any form of the continental United States. You know, I mean, okay, fine. I think he was in Cuba briefly.
There's evidence that those islands probably broke away from the mainland, so you could say that Cuba was part of of North America,
and that still would have been a Spanish holding, you know, and not the evil super glow in the dark white Europeans.
No,
but you don't want to bring that up because then you have to get into the Moorish contingent, and then things go boom.
The time you start telling them that black people invaded and conquered and lived in Southern Europe for what was it, 300 years?
Anybody seen Othello? You know.
Yep. So.
Derp. Yeah, it's just. But the Moors weren't really black, you see.
They don't have black people in France.
Oh, God. Well, it's like the guy that saved that baby that was dangling from the balcony.
Yeah.
And the idiot reporters in this country referring to him as an African-American man when he was Franco Mali.
Mm.
You know, it's a little bit like.
About as far from
Kamala's dad is Afro. Is Afro Carib.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother is dot not feather Indian.
Mm-hmm.
But she's an African American. It's like, nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. You know, it's just if she is, then Elon is. Just saying.
That's an interesting thing. Is Kamala Harris really an African American? I mean, we know technically she's not because of you know, her forebears. But does she get the magical transformation from being the right sex and the right color to just getting an automatic tribe card?
When she was in law school, remember we talked about her versus Coney Barrett, and talked about her time in school. She was in charge of like the black law.
Yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
Hug box. I forget what it was. It was some sort of thing. It was like
it was a brown paper bag test that she passed. Okay,
but it was a thing.
No, I think it actually was called the black law hug box.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but we really are almost at the brown paper bag test.
I have so many job offers. I don't know which one to pick. Where?
And Amy Coney Barrett, all she did in law school was win all the things.
Yeah.
Well, that's just because she's privileged and stuff, not because she's super
Right.
smart.
It's because she's able.
It was all
She's
that,
ableist.
yeah, it was all that red hair burn at the beach privilege that she had. I can't go out of doors for more than 15 minutes, but I'm privileged. And I swear to God. And I'm so amused that, the whole who's eating crackers or candy?
Oh, that's me.
Not
I'm
me.
sorry. I'm sitting here crackling the crackling of thing. Never mind.
You made me. I mean, all of a sudden, I just thought somebody was going to start singing the Cracker Jacks jingle. That's all. I don't even know what I was saying. I'm gonna go have a cigarette. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. All action items are going to be assigned to Prospero.
Yeah, first
I
of
hadn't
all,
gotten my headphones off yet.
I know. I did it on purpose. I thought it would be funnier if you heard it. So yeah, Generation Z2 or whatever they're going to be called. I think they might be terribly lazy. So even if they do end up becoming conservative, like some people are hoping, they're going to be too lazy to mail their ballots in.
that's interesting. How will the American population recover? We know, this whole, hard times make for hard men, and that whole cycle thing.
Yep.
Now that we've got the softies up there, how do they become hard men? What kind of hard times are going to transform today's Gen Z2, or as you say, or whatever they're called,
Yeah.
into something resembling a hominid with a backbone?
It would take, well, see, as long as they can vote in people that will just give them shit, everything's fine. It's going to take some sort of Venezuela type situation where they start thinking, maybe there's something I can eat at the zoo before I think they start to realize there has to be a point where they realize that nobody is going to do it except for them. That the only person who's going to take care of whatever their problem is going to be them. And they need to experience that a lot more often to develop some kind of self-reliance. And this is what happens when you drive kids to school in Escalades and don't let them do stuff. I mean, man, the stuff that I used to do would get my parents arrested for child endangerment now. And I'm sure the stuff
No
that you
kidding.
did was an order of magnitude beyond that. The stuff that my grandfather did was
Oh,
way more. Okay, my grandfather, when he was 10 years old, was, he was in Van Nuys, California, and he had multiple jobs. By the time he hit 12, he had 3 jobs. He had a 1/3 interest in a beauty supply company. He was cleaning up at a diner thing after it closed. And I can't remember what the other one was. He claimed something kind of ridiculous, so I won't even name it. But let's just say he had 3 part-time jobs while he was doing this stuff. And then when he was 14, he stole a race car and crashed it into somebody's porch and got hauled in front of a judge and said, "Why, yes, sir, I am 18 years old," because he was a strapping big kid. So when he was under the age of 18, he was seeing all sorts of stuff in the world, like China, back before the KMT was out of power. But you could sit up on a hill and just watch bands of people just fight. You could just sit there and just have a picnic and just watch people just go at it, just big groups of people just fighting, because that kind of infighting was a thing that just sort of occurred. His life was so much more, I guess, full featured, full color than mine was, and mine is so much more than a lot of these kids were. Because I saw doors just getting shut right behind me, so I go to high school, and then right after I'd leave, they would close the campus so you couldn't leave at lunch. And next thing you know, they're building a fence around it so you can't get in except through certain choke points.
I know what you mean.
Right behind me, there was stuff. And
Right.
at university, I had to take this one class. We're not going to say what it is, but I had to take this one class as like an independent study thing with this teacher because nobody wanted to take it. It was too hard. So nobody wanted to take this particular class because it was too hard. And it's like, man, I was dreaming of taking this class years before I even got here. This is like
What
culmination.
subject matter?
We're not.
was
We're
it?
not. No, we're no.
No, we're not going there.
No,
Okay.
we're not going there.
Cool.
The point being that I kind of feel
Just
like a lot of
needlepoint. I know this.
yeah, a lot of stuff just happened behind me, and then I see these kids, and I'm just like, man, I'm glad that I don't play pool anymore. You know, after the whole COVID thing destroyed everything, because I used to actually run into these kids, you know, these 23-year-old kids, and kind of just go, man, because you talk to them about stuff, and they'd say, yeah, I just can't bother. They just couldn't be bothered to do simple, basic things.
Right.
Like you'd occasionally get into conversations about privacy, and they say, yeah, I don't really care because I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to care about my privacy. People can just do whatever they want with me. They were just happy to get rid of all their individual rights.
Yeah, I just want to, you know, give me my drugs, let me have access to my games, and give me a place to sleep and to clean myself periodically. That's all I care about in life.
Yeah,
And that is for a lot of these guys. That's what floats their boat. They want to do nothing but stay high and play games.
Mom, just leave the Totino's pizza rolls outside the door. We'll get them when we're ready. You know, that kind of thing.
Get out of the way. Look at the TV.
Man, I can tell you that if you are 18 years old right now and you've got drive and you're motivated, the world is going to be
The world is your oyster.
Because so many of the
I can't believe we both said that.
So many of the people who are your age just don't seem to have it. That group of the 4 people that came to the door, or the 4 groups that came to the door, they were small groups. They were the most apathetic trick-or-treaters I've ever seen. Because, you know, usually they're going, you know, trick or treat, and then, you know, and they're clamoring to get stuff. It's like they looked like they could barely lift their pudgy little arms to like grab stuff out of the bowl.
Really?
Yeah, it was
because I am here to report a completely different phenomenon. Well, down here, the parents were with the kids, first of all, and they were instructing the children to say please and thank you and happy Halloween and to be respectful.
The parents stay out on the sidewalk, and then the kids come up and then do whatever. It was sad.
These parents came up with the kids.
Did you have grabbers, Harry?
No, they weren't.
Candy grabbers?
They couldn't be interested enough to really try.
No.
I remember in previous years, they would just sort of, you know, you'd get the 1 or 2 that would be a little fussy, and he'd say, okay, just go ahead and take 2 or 3, take 3, and they just kind of pick around. It's like, dude, there's other people waiting to go. Last night, I would have been happy to have that kid with his pudgy little fingers show up, because nobody, it was the most half-assed thing ever.
Yeah, I had one grabber out of the group that we had. The first people that came was a lady with her grandson who was dressed as the boy who lived. And his mom was dressed as Lily Potter, which was great. And he was charming. The parents were generally after the kids to say thank you, but most of them weren't saying trick or treat. Now, one group did run up yelling trick or treat, smell my feet, which I was grateful somebody remembered that.
Important memory. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. As dumb as trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat is, it's still one of those things that echoes through the ages.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, even with what we did, it was the doing it in full daylight even seemed kind of sad to me. But it's better than the mall. Much better than the mall. And I was glad to see parents and grandparents in costume too, along with their kids, putting some effort into it.
Well, since we're talking about trick-or-treating, I have to share back with you the excellent experience of trick or treating at the United States Air Force Academy. The Air Force Academy, it was a great place to be in like the 6th grade when I was there, when I first showed up. And they had so many houses that were stacked in perfect order. And every single one of these houses expected children and had lots and lots of candy. The key was to, hit them efficiently, be courteous, but stick and move, stick and move, stick and move. And
Yeah.
Eric Rosser, who would someday play keyboards for John Mellencamp, and I absolutely harvested Douglas Valley for 3 years that we did that. We absolutely went to town, and came back with I think at the end of the night we had. You remember the old paper grocery bags?
Oh yeah.
We had, each one of us had 4 of those full of
Good
candy.
God.
We went to hundreds of houses. We went to probably 200 or 300 houses.
That's the 8th grader with the stamina.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the last year I trick or treated. I think was 8th grade.
And this is at 8,000 feet, by the way.
Mhm.
This is
Good
not at
exercise.
sea level. This only has 70% of the oxygen.
Maximum
available.
oxygenation. Good job.
Yeah, it was.
You're-
We were in amazing shape.
You were ready to run wind sprints for the Broncos.
Do you know, when we moved from Colorado to Virginia, and I was in choir freshman year at West Springfield, I found I could go and sing for a very long period of time. That's actually a documented phenomenon. People who've looked
Yes.
up. Unfortunately, you lose it over the course of about 6 months.
Mhm.
But and eventually you acclimate to the air down there. But for a long time, I had amazing stamina, amazing wind.
Johnny Mathis wind.
Yeah,
Johnny Mathis had amazing breath control.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I found someone else the other day mentioned to me how much they loved Karen Carpenter. And
Really?
yeah, and so I said, I have a friend who does as well. He said it's just not Christmas if I don't hear the Carpenters' Christmas album.
Absolutely.
That's it. As I said, it's kind of nice because this person said, I just absolutely love the Carpenters. No apologies. And I said, why should you? I said, Karen Carpenter had a splendid voice, but I wanted to remember to tell you that before I forgot.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have a few Christmas traditions. Probably Karen Carpenter, the Carpenter's Christmas album is one. Another one is I always listen to the duet between David Bowie and Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby. Yep. Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that exists. That's an amazing. Just go to YouTube.
He's
Duet.
on earth, behind Little Drummer Boy. Yeah, it was very interesting. That was being filmed, that Christmas special, and then passed away. So the Christmas special was aired posthumously. But David Bowie singing with Bing Crosby. It's kind of remarkable, looking just like a little choir boy, too. Didn't he? Bowie.
He did. Oh, Bowie.
He was on his very, very best behavior.
That's as good behavior as you ever get to see David Bowie.
Yeah, it was. He was
the straightest he's ever looked in his life.
Yeah, he was absolutely,
Would have been more fun if he'd come on Ziggy Stardust.
It would have been hilarious if he had gender bended just a little bit. But, Crosby would have looked at him and said, Hope does it better.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So it would have ego puncture. I don't think Bob Hope never glitzed it up quite as well, though. Ziggy Stardust, good God, what a character. David Bowie was an innovator. Very much.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so. And quite the entertainer. And
people don't know he's actually a legit guitarist.
Yeah, and an interesting lyricist, too, to some extent.
Oh, I agree. The Man Who Sold the World is a great song. he just didn't perform it very well. But when Kurt Cobain got a hold of it, I mean, he changed that song. Wonderful song.
Sorry, I've got Smells Like Nirvana in my head. I'm very much looking forward to once it is no longer just trapped on pay for streaming services, seeing the Weird Al movie. Having seen the press on it, and apparently Daniel Radcliffe had just the time of his life doing this. So
Daniel Radcliffe is
playing Weird Al, yeah. Well,
cool.
because it is a send-up of biopics, and so in this reality, Weird Al dates Madonna and squares off against the drug kingpin from Mexico.
Daniel Radcliffe likes to sing funny songs. He can sing
Tom Lehrer.
Tom Lehrer.
That's why Weird Al apparently why they contacted him, because they'd seen him sing the Elements song on Graham Norton. And that was just white and nerdy enough, to be the. Sorry, I just happen to love that particular Weird Al song. Look at me, I'm white and nerdy. It's just that guy riding around on a damn Segway on stage singing.
That aged better than All About the Pentiums.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
You can't hit every time.
No, it was funny at the time. It's just that now nobody knows what a 586 was.
Yeah, there's that. The tour that Al's just wrapped up was of his original music. And he had the decency to name it. I swear the title kind of is very Monty Python-esque, the way the lettering was done, but it was the totally unnecessary and utterly self-indulgent tour or something like that, and maybe a bad idea to kind of, but he's written a lot of interesting original stuff. But Daniel Radcliffe, I think they wanted it to be ridiculous. So hiring someone like Daniel Radcliffe, but I found it entertaining in the stills how much he could look like Al did when Al was young. And Al apparently loaned him his accordion so he could learn how to play it a little bit so he wouldn't look too out of place.
Yeah.
And apparently on day 2, he broke the accordion strap.
Oh dear.
And he was just like, oh shit. Oh shit. It's just, oh my God. Because, he has been made familiar with Al's music through his girlfriend and his girlfriend's family. He said he wasn't all that familiar. And I would see him taking to it because he was already a Tom Lehrer fan.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing Radcliffe sing the Elements song on Graham Norton was just spectacular. Because of all things, I expected him to pull out of his back pocket. That would not have been one of them. And I don't think anybody knew what to make of it. Because I don't think...
Well, he calls it his party trick.
Yes. But no, I don't think that many people were all that familiar with who Tom Lehrer was, which I think, you almost see in his eyes.
International tragedy.
Yes, which you almost see in Radcliffe's eyes when he's talking about it. Like, oh crap, are you telling me you don't know what I'm talking about?
Well,
this is a terrible thing. But of course, the present company, he, had to consider who was there with him. There were some people. I'm sure you could have had another panel, and they all would have said, "Oh, absolutely." And it wouldn't have been by knowing the song Silent E from Electric Company, which did happen. I mean, there was a few people. Oh, wait, you mean that guy? Oh, God. It's just, that's how you know you're old.
I thought you knew you're old when when you start more often than not making pain noises when you're not really doing anything.
Yes,
You know,
this is also true.
I'm unloading the dishwasher. It's like, oh, wrong angle.
Yeah, well, yeah, there are. I find that getting up out of a chair, if I go as I do it, I ward off pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, have you ever dropped something and before it even hits your foot, you say "ow"?
Yeah,
Be-
like a preemptive
yes,
oy vey, just to
yes,
yeah,
it's a preemptive.
like you're gonna
kvetch,
trick
and
fate into going, oh yeah, I'm already hurt. You don't need to do anything.
That's
Everything's
right.
fine.
That knife really does not have to land point down. Thank you. But yeah, it is kind of funny, or you're getting ready to hit your hand on something, and it's like or ow, and then of course somebody says, "Are you all right?" And you're like,
Mhm.
"Well, that was kind of preemptive.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to hurt myself, but I didn't."
yeah.
See, that's how it works. And then they're looking at you funny, and it's like, yeah, well, you'll make those noises one of these days.
Well, I'll tell you what I don't miss: hitting my funny bone.
Oh yeah,
That used to suck, and it used to happen kind of all the time. And I don't know if I know that it's a response that you don't get nearly as much of when you get older, but I think also you've just sort of learned the heuristics are there to make sure that you just don't do it. Like all the things in the past that have ever made you hit your funny bone, there's a little part of your brain that says, no, do not move like that.
you
The
finally
last time you did that, that thing happened and you didn't like that, so don't.
you
No,
finally
I see you're about to do it, but no.
you've
You know,
mapped
it's-
yourself in time and space finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people tell me that, I've read that it's a thing that sort of goes away, but I kind of think that I've learned enough over the years that I don't even test it anymore.
I hit mine the other day. It does not.
It doesn't go away.
No, just
Oh, so I'm just awesome. I've just adapted to the point where my funny bone is like the most protected thing. It's just I don't want to get kicked in the balls and I don't want to hit my funny bone. That's pretty much it.
There's also a nerve response in the knee
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of similar, except I find the funny bone is more creepy, tingly,
I wonder if
weird.
that one bothers Kamala.
Yeah, creepy,
On
tingly.
the-
But hitting your funny bone's like a creepy, tingly, weird more than pain, but the one in the knee is pain, followed by that twang, of the nerves kind of going, "What the fuck have you done?" I had the nerve moved out of my cubital channel in my elbow to the inside of my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And I did make the alarming discovery that if I banged the inside of my elbow down just right, I could still hit my funny bone. It wasn't the bottom of the elbow like it used to be,
Mm-hmm.
where you glance it off a counter or something like that, that owie. No, it was the inside. And I smacked it down on something one time and went, fuck, it's still there.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as it was when it was where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, what you have, I believe, is called ulnar nerve entrapment syndrome.
Yes, I do.
And when the ulnar nerve in the arm becomes compressed or irritated, and numbness and tingling in the hand and fingers are common. Symptoms of cubital tunnel syndrome. In most cases, symptoms can be managed with non-surgical treatments like changes in activities and bracing.
Mm-hmm.
If non-surgical methods do not improve your symptoms, or if nerve compression is causing muscle weakness or damage in your hand, your doctor may recommend surgery unless you go to the VA, in which case, fuck off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
grab a handful of gabapentin on your way out of the office. There's
I had
a big bowl right there.
Yeah.
I had the surgery.
It's a nightmare out there.
I had the surgery and it helped some, but it did not repair.
Oh, you did? You had the
Yeah.
reconstructive
They moved the ulnar nerve from
right.
the cubital tunnel into the inside of my elbow, and then he released it Also,
replace it over the medial epicondyle.
yes, which you can
Yes.
whack on a table, by the way.
The spot where the nerve runs under the medial epicondyle is commonly referred to as the funny bone. At the funny bone, the nerve is close to your skin, and bumping it causes a shock-like feeling.
Yeah.
That's an understatement.
He released my wrist also.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the ulnar nerve passes through kind of toward the ring and little finger.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
And when he was in there, he also went over and released the carpal tunnel because he said that way. Look, I was already digging around in your hand. Yep. I might as well do that preemptorily so you don't have to worry about getting carpal tunnel syndrome.
You keep the pain in your left hand. That part, yeah.
Which, you know, I was grateful, and the weakness that was developing in my hand was apparent. I couldn't cross my fingers.
Yep.
On my left hand, and those fingers weren't the ones that were numb. But what will happen if the damage is bad enough, what will occur is what's called the ulnar claw, where the fingers will begin to curl inward. Like, you know, you've seen people whose hands are terribly gnarled by arthritis, where they curl inward. Well, this is an extreme version. It will actually cause the wrist sometimes, the hand to cant back toward the forearm.
Interesting.
You know, the damage that Bob Dole had in his arm, if you recall how his hand was twisted, I've often wondered how badly the ulnar nerve was damaged in that hand, or whether it was totally severed.
Yeah.
Because he gripped that pen, and that very well may have been to keep the hand from spasming closed. Because gripping things really can help, you know, keep some strength in the musculature in the hand. Because a lot of the exercises I had to do were grip and flex. But I just never got the total range of motion back. And I clearly was having difficulty and numbness in my fingers for about 4 months before I had the surgery. And it still didn't repair. I think there may be some constriction in the shoulder of the nerve as well.
Yeah, conversations like this remind me of why I'm happy to be alive right now.
Yeah.
1895.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I don't mean to be.
They had surgery back then too.
Oh yeah, it's called cut the damned arm off. I'm not complaining. You know, I mean, I don't. It's like it really did. It impacted certain things that I loved doing, so I could, and I was quite kvetchy and depressed about this for, I'd say, damn close to 5 years after it happened.
Wow.
Well, I couldn't play the piano anymore, because it's a creepy feeling to have partially numb fingers touching something. It doesn't give you the proper feedback. If you know what I'm saying, you're just not getting and I just wanted to be a spoiled brat about it. But I also couldn't, you know how you curl your hand to protect your fingers if you're slicing?
Yes.
I can't do that for any protracted period of time without my hand cramping. There's certain things I can't grip without my hand cramping.
You get Cree to do the slicing for you.
God love him. I'm not throwing him under the bus on the fact that he doesn't cook by any stretch. But when the man looked at me dead seriously and said, "What do you mean by dice?" I thought, I don't.
Level setting.
Yeah, I don't. You sweet summer child, I don't have the time. He asked if he could help me do something. And I said, well, you could dice this onion for me. And he's like, what's dicing?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, at another time, I'll teach you this. I don't fucking have the time now. You just don't at certain, like at Thanksgiving, that's not the time to teach somebody knife skills. And I don't have great knife skills, but they were better. Boo-hoo. Yes, I am pissing and moaning. I'm officially old and grumpy. I was grumpy before I was old, though.
So, are we going to this time next week? We're going to have a red wave, guys.
Somewhere between a burp and a wave. It ain't going to be a tsunami.
Think we'll take the Senate?
It's a chance for it. I mean, I'm not as... I don't know, man. What's going to come out of the Supreme Court? Are they going to drop a turd in the punch bowl at the last second here?
I would be surprised if these elections were not heavily contested.
Yeah.
The accusations of wrongdoing on both sides. That seems to be the way people are gearing up for right now.
Well, you can't keep questioning the results of an election. But you can certainly do it preemptorily, Hillary.
Stacey Abrams
well, please,
has never really given up. She thinks she's the governor of Georgia.
Well, Hillary, was out there beating the drum about how the maggots are going to try to steal the 2024 election, and it's all going to be rigged, and Russia, blah blah blah. And this is after our having listened for the last 2 fucking years about the fact that it is treasonous to question the results of an election.
Well, maybe with more of a free speech posture on Twitter, things might be different this time. Because the only thing that was treasonous about it before was that the government had jawboned the media companies, the social media companies, into enforcing rules that they themselves could never enforce.
Mm-hmm.
Because that pesky Bill of Rights.
Yep.
So with the main player not actively suppressing a certain type of speech, things could be very different. But I think after the fact, that doesn't make a whole lot of
Meta
difference.
is
whatever they get away with, right? Whatever they get away with, it won't make any difference because the courts are loath to do anything about it after the fact. It would have to be so egregious and provable that there'd be the courts aren't going to do anything.
Well, that's why
they would literally install somebody, let some bogus election stand before they would do anything, because I think there's limits. They don't think that they have the right to get in there.
John Roberts is also a lily-livered shitbag. But
all the heat they got for the hanging Chad thing.
Well, but excuse me, they're not the ones that sued. They took the heat, but a suit was filed. And once the suit is filed in federal court, it's going to end up at the Supreme Court at the end. Sorry. That's and the thing that was disgusting about the Pennsylvania case that wasn't heard in the court is them pretending that moot points have never been heard by a court.
Wait, now which Pennsylvania case are you talking about?
It had to do with the change to election law that was it had already been remedied according to the court. Oops, we weren't supposed to do that. You know how they fiddled with changing the rules but didn't use the Pennsylvania legislature to do it. And then they went back and made sure there was a law that could never happen again. So it's a moot case. Okay. And that's the one that Clarence Thomas threw the fit over. That you can indeed address moot cases. It's been done before. Quite necessarily so. The court, said this must never occur kind of thing. Mm-hmm. At least you get the final word that it is utterly unconstitutional for these things to even be attempted in the first place. So please don't do it. But what we've got now is this kind of nonsense where you'd really rather ask for forgiveness than permission. But I'm a little worried about the case. I don't think any decisions are going to come out of the court until after Election Day. I would hope.
Oh, you guaranteed.
I mean, I really,
we'll
really
stay away from anything controversial.
Well, they're sitting on a big one right now.
Which one?
Affirmative action.
And who's that case? What are the?
I haven't. All I know is what the topic is, because I'm not gonna. Good God, if you think I'm gonna read all those briefs and arguments, I just heard that the oral arguments got a little entertaining.
But it's
Clarence Thomas fed somebody
executive summary, though.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas fed somebody their lunch, which I would have paid to see.
That's probably a weekly occurrence.
Hang on, I'm looking it up.
Let's see, which one is it?
It's a college admissions.
Yeah,
it's about the. What is the case? This proved to be a full contact oral argument for both the advocates and the justices, said Jonathan Turley. The challengers clearly had a better day before the court.
All right. In nearly 5 hours of oral argument on October 31st, challenges to admissions policies at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina found a receptive audience. The dissenters in 2016, Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, along with the Chief John Roberts, seemed to have Donald Trump's 3 appointees on board to overturn 44 years of precedents. When decisions arrive, probably in the spring, so that's when you're going to hear is public and private universities alike may no longer be permitted to build racially diverse classes by giving preferential treatment to students with from certain underrepresented groups. Without that license, both Harvard and UNC say their pursuit of diversity would falter, and they might as well just close the schools.
Yeah. Waxman.
Hey.
The attorney for, this is just a little clip, Seth Waxman, got into it with Alito and Roberts. Waxman admitted race was, he's Harvard's lawyer, admitted race was decisive for some highly qualified applicants. That's a quote. Just like, end quote, being an oboe player in a year in which the Harvard Radcliffe Orchestra needs an oboe player. Robert shot back, we did not fight a civil war about oboe players. We did fight a civil war to eliminate racial discrimination. No, we didn't. I'm sorry. That's an ahistorical response in and of itself. God, John Roberts is such a mental midget. But it was a haymaker of an argument. I mean, we fought a civil war to eliminate racial discrimination. Show me in the paperwork from the Civil War when that happened.
Right. That's a very fair objection.
I mean, I'm sustained. Point to me on the little Civil War dolly where that didn't occur. That occurred in the 1960s, you twat waffle. Well, in the 50s. The hard work was done in the 50s and the early 60s. But, so this is interesting. They think that they may significantly modify Bakke on this ruling. Let's see what comes along, because this is going to be interesting.
Bakke was overturned, right? Yeah. It was mostly overturned by California Supreme Court, and then was overturned completely by the U.S.
Supreme Court, and then there was the Gritter case, and there have been a number of cases.
Sure,
I have to. I'd have to sit down at the computer and actually look this stuff up like a real person that should know something about what she's talking about. Jesus.
But it would be interesting if they, threw out
Bakke.
Yeah, that would be
awesome.
Wow.
That'd be pretty fucking awesome, is what that would be. For those of us who believe that merit is more important than immutable characteristic. I love the phrasing in that article, though. Along with the 3 Trump appointees,
Yeah.
say their
Not-
names. You
They're
can't
not
say
real justices.
Yeah, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and Brett Kavanaugh don't exist as human beings. They're just figments of Trump's imagination.
I have friends who won't say President Trump's name.
Oh God, Voldemort.
It's just silly. And these are people who are makers, shakers. These are important people who.
But they're mental. They're
emotionally
deficient.
immature.
Yeah, because it's the amount. Oh well, television was already doing this to us, and social media finished the job of basically giving everybody permission to function only through emotional reasoning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
So
I wanted to let me just read you what this one attorney for the side of goodness and sweetness and light says. He says, the attorney's name is Strawbridge. Strawbridge said that Asian applicants have been disadvantaged by affirmative action policies that have benefited Black applications, a factor which he argued underscored the unfairness and unconstitutionality of those policies. Some races would get a benefit, some races do not get a benefit, he said. And he went on to say that the use of race to determine who gets into college is inherently divisive, and he's absolutely right there.
Yes.
Now Sotomayor says no. Come up with an example in the court record where an applicant had gotten into college simply because of their race. She and other liberal justices in their questions argued that race was but one of many, 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 many factors in affecting how colleges determine who gets admitted. Another of the justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson, said they're looking at the full person with all these characteristics.
Bullshit.
She then went back into the corner to play with her dolly.
Yeah, bullshit.
Wow.
It's okay. Number one, it's insulting to people to basically tell them from jump that we assume because you're this color that you're going to be too stupid to get into, on your own. That, I think I would have hoped at some point the penny would have fallen with some folks who would have thought, wait, why are you insulting me like that? And I remember it was not the Black community that was complaining initially about Asians being overrepresented in colleges. I remember this going back, it was late 80s, early 90s, and it was white people in California complaining. They were bitching about how many people in the University of California system
were Asian. Yeah.
That they were being overrepresented.
Yeah.
And it was like they're getting in because the affirmative action wasn't as strong for Asians to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it was like, okay, so they're beating your white ass in their SATs. Sorry.
No,
but that
affirmative action for having affirmative for Asians is like having affirmative action for Ashkenazi Jews.
Ashkenazi Jews, yeah.
You don't really need it.
Correct.
If you want your little darling to be a nuclear physicist but a nuclear physicist who takes a diverse method of arriving at that degree by, say, going at it from a gender studies aspect. Look at the gender studies aspect of quantum physics.
Yes.
Maybe that's a more important way to look at physics. Maybe you could get
gender
real
superposition.
Physics. Mm-hmm. Exactly. How do you evaluate it? When do you know what it's real? What its real value is?
Well, because
you really don't, do you?
We're using unicorns to teach mathematics, and we're using unicorn farts to explain quantum physics. That's, it's
The
fabulous.
discrete unit of energy in the universe is,
Well,
is a unicorn fart.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. What occurred before the Big Bang? Unicorn gas. Yeah. And pixie dust. And it's, children are incredible fabulists. They really do on their own have very little beautiful active imaginations. And, you listen to little kids come up with stories about things.
I've heard that about kids.
I'm sure you never experienced it one little bit.
No.
I experienced it coming out of my damn face. And also knowing what my internal imagination was like when I was a child, and still can be.
I'll bet your lies were awesome.
I didn't really have to lie that often. Yeah. See, being an only child, it's a little difficult to avoid the eye in the sky, so to speak. You can't get away with very much because you're the only damn kid in the house.
But you didn't have any of the, cross sibling lies that you had to tell and make up.
This is true. Yeah, so I didn't have a great deal of experience in treachery either. How to stab an ally in the back.
Everybody's got to learn.
Oh yeah,
nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, being female, I began learning natural
skills.
I began learning it mainly by observation, but
sure. Had some good female role models who were sneaky, scurrilous.
Oh God, people to avoid. Another reason I didn't like girls much. Yeah, guys would just punch you in the face. Girls would go, elaborate vengeance fantasies. It's like, who's got the time? It's
like
just
that pre-Shakespearean, those pre-Shakespearean European plays where it's like, it'd be Italian and it'd be a morality play, and there'd be some matriarch. And the whole play would be pretty much the matriarch just fucking with everybody's lives, just manipulating people and, deciding how the eugenics program's going to work. That's how a lot of those things used to function. But it's an old trope. Essentially the woman isn't physically stronger, so she finds other ways to exert her influence. Famously so.
Poison is a woman's tool.
You end up with no more wire hangers and anti-maim and just on and on and on.
You end up with Lady Macbeth. Yeah.
Lady Macbeth. Hair doctor professor Lady Macbeth.
Yes. I like that, hair doctor professor. It's important to include that.
Well, if you are a hair doctor professor, trust me, they usually think it's pretty important. You don't get to leave any of those off.
No. God love her. Somewhere with the children being great, fabulous, I was going with we're perpetuating childhood brattiness. This business about I have a different approach to learning physics, and mine is just as good as yours, ends up sounding like a first grade taunt.
Yeah, well, ours involves poetry and macrame, and we talk about how the physics makes us feel.
Right, exactly.
That's important.
Outside of math anxiety, physics doesn't necessarily make me feel, except like a sense of awe, per chance.
You show up late for class, and then you walk in, and it's a big auditorium, and all the lights are down, but there's just like a little floodlight down, on the main podium in front of things, or the main stage area, and you just see one woman in a leotard sort of moving around strangely, and then you just tap somebody on the shoulder and say, "What is that?" That's her interpretive dance where she describes the wave particle duality.
It's
gonna be great.
Yeah.
Just some unattractive woman in like a beige leotard. That's exactly what we need. How do the atoms make you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know, when I learned about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, it reminds me of my gender.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, oh God, please, no.
Because Deepak Chopra said, never mind.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when Deepak Chopra was the gold standard for progressive, and now he's just another tired old white man, you know, that progressives can't stand. He sort
a
of has his
weirdo.
progressive emeritus status,
Yeah.
but that they've moved so far to the left that even Deepak Chopra is now too far to the right.
Yes, which is pretty impressive.
I really want to just give these people some land like Catalina Island. I'm sorry if you live on Catalina Island. I know it's a nice place. And just let them build their utopia.
Yes.
Yes.
And the only condition is we'll give them seeds, we'll give them water filters, we'll give them pretty much whatever equipment they need within reason to start their thing. The only thing we demand is that we're able to put cameras on poles that watch the progress and that they can't tamper with them. That's the only thing I want. I want them to build their communist utopia. I'll give them what they need to get started. I just need to be able to watch.
I want to see the mouse utopia. Yes,
I want to see them try to farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see what happens the first time one of them works an extra 10% and then doesn't get a larger portion of food or something. I just want to see how long it takes before capitalism or a black market breaks out.
Capitalism will assert itself before the sun goes around 2 times.
Yeah.
2 days. 2 days tops. Somebody's going to come up with a better idea. And as soon as that happens, as soon as a better idea takes place, that's when capitalism takes place.
Hmm.
People think it's all about offering goods for sales and so forth, but capitalism is about ideas. It's about being able to have your own ideas and being able to cash in on your own ideas, be able to make money and
something
in
about
so
fiat
doing,
currency.
sell something that is so valuable that people will pay you money for it because it improves their lives so much. That's how you improve society.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works. You know, it's like this generation has forgotten
Oh yeah,
how
but
social advancement works.
I agree with Harry. I mean, look, dude, pay-per-view would clear the national debt because there'd be a lot of us tuned in. I mean, that we would pay for the streaming service just to watch
them fail.
Well, remember what they did in the Chaz when they planted. I mean, the Chaz was almost like watching improv theater.
Yeah, that
where you're like, somebody's having us on.
What Harry's talking about, if you really did something like that, you couldn't do it on Catalina Island, but you could do it on Madagascar. And you had a Coventry style place where people were just offloaded and said, go seek your fortune, enjoy. There's no plastics there. You'll be happy about that. And there's
they won't last a week.
There's no electricity.
They won't last a week.
No fossil fuels, not one bit of fossil fuels. Yeah, exactly. What are you going to do? Could they even make a fire? Do you think 1,000 out of 1,000 generation the whatever they are? Yeah, generation row, whatever they call themselves. That they do you think how many of them do you think could make a fire with just naturally available things?
I mean, even if they learn all that stuff, hell, we'll give them some books. We'll give them the
Boy Scout handbook from 19.
How things work.
1900s.
Building utopia made simple. Whatever it is they want. Because honestly,
What's the name of Bernie's book? Give them copies of that.
We could give them people that would train them in survival techniques. We could give them people that would train them. I mean, that would just be part of the show, where we teach them
Bear
to do
Grylls
stuff.
takes these guys on.
get them all squared away, give them like 6 months of, catered 3 meals a day. And I mean, just give them every possible advantage that that's
They
reasonable,
won't
right?
last a day.
They will still fail because their system is stupid and bankrupt.
Yeah, it is. It's simply.
I just want to watch them crash and burn. Is that so much to ask?
I think Harry should get his wish.
Yeah.
Let's round up the liberals. Put them in. Nevada's not really worth anything. Let's just take Nevada and fence off a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in there and watch the fun. Put them in Northeast Nevada.
Oh, God damn
nice.
it.
That's
That's
nice.
cruel as shit. I mean, that's just hear the Ruby Mountains, have a good time.
Yeah. Some good stuff up there.
Yeah.
My.
This is fine.
Oh, I go back and forth. I'm so interested in what's going to happen in the election next week. I'm not just for the expected, the victories in the Republican sector, but I'm anxious to see the Democrats' reaction to see if they can lose gracefully or if they immediately just go to the wall everywhere and contest everything, which I think there's a chance they may do that.
Mm-hmm.
Lawfare does seem to be the thing they enjoy the most.
Lawfare, yeah. Why don't you explain what lawfare is?
Warfare through law.
Yeah.
Through the courts. It's expensive. It's tedious. It's wearing.
Getting your way through the law is what
and
she's
it
done.
Yeah, and it allows you to really beat that narrative drum, which outlets are happy to assist. Twitter, the bird may be a bit more free, Harry, you mentioned earlier, but Meta isn't. And after what we've learned about the coordination with the DHS and that kind of thing of these social media groups, now that, at least in that regard, that triumvirate has been busted. They got caught in that. No, there have been no consequences for them. But Twitter being removed from that, should help, but Facebook is a more powerful tool in some regards.
I think as long as the word gets out there, it's enough. You don't have to control everything. You just have to make sure that the word gets out there enough that people have an opportunity to hear it. And having Twitter not censor things which are otherwise legal speech is enough.
Well, the thing is that they do their mea culpas. Like the New York Times. Oh, I guess we shouldn't have squelched that Hunter Biden story. Oh, shame on us. After the fact, it's the forgiveness rather than permission.
They knew anybody with half a brain knew that was not Russian misinformation.
Oh, yeah, but that's still what some people absolutely believe.
No, that was a convenient fiction, and they pretended to believe it as they were censoring it, just like I used to pretend that Santa Claus was real for an extra several years because I kept getting more presents.
Yeah, well, also, but there are people, just regular normies, not normies, they're blue anons on Twitter, who are absolutely convinced that was still propaganda. And will argue till their last breath that it was propaganda.
They never get the retractions.
No. They never do, and they don't believe it. And you can send them chapter and verse, and they're like, it's still blah. It's like any conspiratard who's just married to the conspiracy. Their worldview blows apart if you dismantle it. So they just have to live in the delusion. They have to live in the Sasheen Littlefeather bubble. Wasn't that a happy little story?
I just want to end my life.
What? Oh, because of Sasheen Littlefeather?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious, though. Her family throwing her under the bus like that.
Yeah,
I guess I should be happy that I don't know this story.
Oh, Sasheen Littlefeather, who turned down the Academy Award for
Academy Award.
Marlon
Oh,
Brando
that person. Yeah,
behalf
who wasn't actually Native American
at all. She was Mexican American.
Yeah. Well, they're natives.
Aztec American. Well, no, that's just Mesoamerican. It's whatever the fuck. I mean, her family was like, she lived and died in a delusion.
Yeah.
She was delusional.
She was the Rachel Dolezal of Feather Not Dot.
Yes, absolutely. And I do find it spectacularly. Well, it's not surprising at all that Marlon Brando would fall for something like that. Not the least bit surprised.
When he's not looking for spare pretzels in his sofa.
In the folds in his belly. God, I mean, he really ended up like Jabba the Hutt there.
This is fascinating. Following Little Feather's death, Navajo author Jacqueline Keeler interviewed Little Feather's biological sisters, Rosalind something and Trudy, I don't care, who say their family did not have Native American ancestry. Keeler writes that the sisters state that their father, who was born in Oxnard, California, was of Mexican descent and had no tribal ties, nor was he related to the Yaqui tribes of northern Mexico. Furthermore, Cruz says Little Feather fabricated a Native identity because she thought it was more, quote, prestigious, end quote, to be Native American than to be Hispanic. Keeler searched records of Little Feather's family going back to 1850 and did not find any evidence of Native ancestry, although some of her distant family may have been born in hard to pronounce tribal territory in Sonora, Mexico. Scholars have stated that actual tribal members in these communities would have been a minority during that time. According to Lisa Black, an associate professor of history and Native American indigenous studies at Indiana University, who has the longest title at the university, evidently, and a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, of course. Keeler proves Little Feather was a troubled woman who made the stories of others her own. The Pascua Yaqui tribe stated neither Little Feather nor her parents were enrolled tribal members. But you know who had Roger Ebert had brought that up, and he said something about that in 2004 in an obituary for Marlon Brando, stating that her attendance at the Oscars, she was later identified as Maria Cruz, an actress who was not an Indian. And he subsequently published a letter received from Little Feather's lawyer, which asked him to clarify that Little Feather was Native American with a father who was Yaqui and White Mountain Apache. The lawyer's letter claimed that Cruz was her married name. However, on her official website, a response to Ebert's article contradicts the lawyer and states that she was born Marie Cruz. From this, we may conclude that lawyers do occasionally lie.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yep.
Damn straight. They literally get paid to lie, as long as they lie for the benefit of their clients.
And within the rules that they themselves make for themselves, for and by themselves. It's so irritating.
Yeah. Incestuous doesn't even begin to cover it.
No.
Oh my God. I just made the mistake of going over to Twitter. Amber Heard was trending. She's declaring herself stateless to avoid insurance litigation. Mm-hmm. And she's going to be a sovereign citizen, I guess.
She's going to be stateless?
Yeah, and has a parent.
What?
Is she a plasma?
Yes. Yeah, that's it. She's plasma.
She's trying to be judgment proof, but she can't. She can't be judgment proof. She won't get there.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. If she ends up in a mental institution, it's where she belongs to begin with, because the woman is either it's a psychopathy with severe sociopathic characteristics, or she's just a stone cold sociopath. It's one or the other. The woman's a creepy abuser. It just, I hate that kind of pop culture People magazine bullshit that this all was. Except I did, when those tapes came out, listen to one of them. I said, all right, I guess I should know these things, something about these things. And I actually became fascinated in listening to it, Skep, because of the manipulation.
No, really.
Listening to a master manipulator.
Mm.
And the person that she was up against had broken the cycle. He had broken the cycle. He'd seen her for what she was.
Oh, wow.
And so she could not touch him. And the changing of vocal tone from pleading to cajoling and baby dolly to screeching anger.
Yeah.
When she wasn't getting her way. Yeah, it is. And it really is like listening to madness.
Yes.
Take vocal form. Which is why I'll give her the out that it's possibly psychopathy. But I think she's a sociopath. I'm pretty sure that's what this is, because she's not as good as Ted Bundy was.
She's not as good as Ted. She's not a paragon of goodness. Like
she's
Ted
not as
Bundy
good at being a sociopath as Ted Bundy.
Oh, okay, yes.
Not as good an actor. Not as good an actor.
Yeah, which is what you have to be.
It's a chameleon. It's a chameleon role.
Yeah, very definitely.
And she's too transparent. She just doesn't have the skills. Bundy, sadly enough, had great skills. But see, he was a lawyer.
Yeah.
Learned the art of court acting, the way it's, and probably had a natural talent for it.
He had a year of law school.
Yes, but he had a natural talent for acting.
Oh, he definitely did that. He would have been a fine lawyer, actually, I think.
And he was a remarkably good-looking young man. Yeah. He was strikingly good-looking.
Yeah,
he was not just average good-looking. And that counts for things. It really does. It counts for people dismissing the possibility that you could be a bad actor. The Menendez boys, some lady on the jury, but they're so well dressed.
Yes.
And
how they couldn't do that. Look at the way they're dressed.
But they're so soft-spoken. They seem so nice. Yeah, because we're used, well, in polite society, and especially that was an older female juror, manners count for something. But Ted Bundy had very nice manners when he wasn't bashing somebody's head in with a baseball bat. I'm sure John Wayne Gacy said please and thank you to his mother. Come on. The crazy is in, when people talk about Meghan Markle being a manipulator and a control freak, I think she's a low-rent Amber Heard, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's full-on sociopath. Might be wrong. But if you, I don't recommend listening to it if you're one of those people who can't get that kind of stuff out of your head from the standpoint that it would haunt you. But just hearing the vocal changes, for anybody who didn't watch the trial, I didn't watch the trial because I'd already heard her vocal performance on these tapes. Why would I want to watch a trial and watch her try to perform in a courtroom? I knew what I'd heard.
I get, I agree with everything you're saying about Amber Heard. When I hear her, I get the same feeling that I get when I hear the Slender Lady, whose name I can never remember, the Theranos.
Theranos.
Yeah, Theranos lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes. Yeah. I get the feeling that, this is just, a manipulator who will do absolutely anything to manipulate anyone to do anything.
A cold chill goes up your spine.
Do you find yourself getting defensive? Because I do.
Yeah,
I really do.
I change my body posture. even if
Right.
I'm listening.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, just talking about it now,
right.
I found myself sitting up more erectly and leaning
Yep.
forward on
Yep.
the table, because what I'd like to do is pop both of those bitches down right in the
We
kisser.
can't relax around people like that.
Oh God, no, because they've got the stiletto and you don't know which rib they're aiming for.
Yeah, that's right.
Which intercostal space they're aiming for. But you know, you don't know. Are they going between 2 and 3? Are they going to come in high? Are they going to come in low? You just don't know. And the thing is that when they're good at it, they have you sold for a while. So you became receptive and open to them. And then you find out what's going on. But there's still that echo of first impression.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they know that. Oh, you could tell that. I mean, at one time, Johnny was in love with Amber, and she knew it
Sure.
because of how she would go back to, but Johnny.
And she expects him to react a certain way.
And he used to.
And he used to. Right, exactly.
Well,
now that doesn't work anymore.
He's been raised by crazy.
Yeah.
So he was already pre-programmed for this type of
he was pre-programmed.
Succubus.
Yeah.
And
she is a succubus.
That's exactly
right.
That's what they are. I mean, they will suck the absolute life out of you and destroy you and make you doubt your own sanity. Expert gaslighters. And I mean, she could still trigger him in this conversation. He was still getting angry, but he was not falling for it.
Yeah. You could almost see him stop caring.
Well, yeah, but and see, the sad thing is there were children involved.
I know.
And that's where she really had him by the short and curlies. Because he gave a shit about the kids. To her, they're tools.
Yeah, the world would be a better place without her.
Uh-huh.
I don't say that about very many people, but she adds.
Well, now that she's stateless,
to this world.
Now that she's stateless, the world is technically without her.
So is she a Voyager now? Does she voyage in her carriage of conveyance, which is not a car?
Maritime,
not driving a car.
Maritime law applying to her.
Maritime law.
She's a traveler. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't understand much about maritime law. I'll tell you that right.
No shit. It's just, I'm sorry, but I don't see no red nor green lights flashing. You pull your little boat over there. Doot doot. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness gracious! But
red right returning.
Yes, it's the easiest thing to remember. I mean, it's really so easy. Red right return.
And 2 shorts port to port. 2 short blasts means you're going. Your intent is to pass with your port side toward their port side. Please give me 2 toots back, and we'll do this fast thing and not hit each other. How about that?
Yeah. Please be paying attention. Please be paying attention. You know, and you see large vessels in certain channels with small pleasure craft, and you just know that they're like, oh, for Christ's sake, please, 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 please don't ruin my... There'll be paperwork. Don't, you know. It's...
The rules of the road test, believe it or not, at OCS is a holy terror. So there's a shitload of material, and they give you like a week to memorize that stuff.
There's a lot
for the first regurgitation, and then you go out and start using it and it becomes second nature. But my God, it's awful. This is a shitty test. Just thought about that. I haven't thought about that.
Well, just for civilian sailing purposes, you know, like ASA certification.
Well, inland rules of the road are different.
Here's
another helpful thing.
Coastal.
Inland rules are different. Inland rules of the road, which are for coastal waters, are different than the at-sea international rules of the road. And so 2 shorts port to port, that works in the United States, but that won't work in the harbor in Hong Kong.
Right.
So you have to use the international, which escapes me. I can't remember what
Get the fuck out of my
port
way.
has.
I'm the U.S. Navy. I
No,
believe
it's like 2 longs and a short. I mean, it's the same signaling. It's the same. You're signaling the same things. It's just all different combinations.
different language. Yeah.
Well,
But-
yeah.
Yeah.
It means the same thing. It means I'm going to pass on this side. It's just it would be helpful if they were all standard. That's what everybody grouses about. Is the fact you have to learn both the in school they make you learn the the freshwater signals. They call them freshwater signals, saltwater signals, a little bit, but they really emphasize the saltwater signals.
Well, yeah, because that's where the preponderance
That's
of
where you spend
time
your
is
time.
spent. Yeah, you're not coastal sailing usually. Hope not. You don't want to be coastal sailing. That would indicate there'd be a rather severe thing going on.
No, there's this group called the Coast Guard. They're real good at it.
They are extremely good at it.
Better than the Navy. Trust me.
Yeah, and that they have they get racked on a lot, like the Air Force does. Toasty coasties get racked on a lot, but they do some shit that there aren't that many people in the Navy that have balls to do what some of the Coast Guard rescue people do.
Angry Cops gives them the POB pretty regularly.
Oh yeah, well I mean their search and rescue people are incredible. Those guys that, especially the ones that work off Cape Disappointment and Alaska. Those are two. I mean, Chesapeake Bay is no pretty assignment. Yeah, because of
It's a big goddamn
the
assignment.
roads. The Hampton roads are just enormous.
Yeah, it is.
There's a fuck ton of traffic going through
It's
them.
a lot of traffic.
It's
like San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, and a lot more water. Is because of, I mean, the estuarial dump.
Oh yeah,
is enormous in Hampton Roads. I don't think people realize the size of it, and how far it goes inland.
People don't realize that Washington D.C. is a port city.
Yeah, and I mean there are 3 good-sized ports working off of the Hampton Roads. Well, 4 actually. Port of Norfolk, Newport, itself.
Counting Newport News is separate.
No, Richmond. Remember, we have a deep water terminal.
Oh, that's right. You got terminals there.
And deep water.
You've got more than one.
We have deep water and intermediate. Yeah, we have both. Because up to just below the city, not all that far below the falls, we're deep water navigable. Then you have
where's the
DC
navigable up to? Where's the James?
The intermediate terminal is at the eastern edge of the city.
So that literally is in Richmond proper. It has.
I'm trying to think if you're.
I'm just curious.
It may
because
not.
I always thought that Richmond just didn't quite.
I don't think it is in the city. I don't think it is in the city limits. I think that falls in.
I think you're right.
In Henrico County,
right.
which was the original settlement for the city of Richmond.
Yeah.
Henricus was the original settlement. Henricus. But Henrico County, the falls run through all of downtown. And of course, we're navigable north of the falls, well, west of the falls, northwest of whatever you want to call it. Also, but certainly not deep water. It's much more of a bateau boat kind of navigable. Even John Smith found that out.
So are you talking down by Hopewell?
No, not that far. That's below the deep water terminal. If you come up to
where
Google Maps Rockets Landing, ROCKETT.
What's it near Bellwood, Bensley?
Hang on. It's farther. It's farther west than that.
You two crack me up.
We're back on the maps again.
I know.
We're back. We're back on the maps.
I don't know if that was in the game or not, but it should be. If it isn't,
It was. It was in the game.
yeah.
Okay. If you're just looking at general Google Maps of the Richmond area,
I'm with Google Earth.
Oh, God damn it. I don't know. Then look for about where Route 5. Can you see highways?
Easily.
Okay.
Great clarity.
Well, there's Richmond Marine Terminal. How about that? Bensley is where that's
what I thought.
That's the deep water terminal. The intermediate terminal is up nearer Libby Hill Park and Carrow's Landing.
Road, Port of Richmond. There, that's what I wanted to see. Okay, that's what it is.
The boathouse at Rockets Landing. That area. That's the intermediate terminal. But the deep water terminal really isn't that much farther downstream, if you think about it.
Deepwater Terminal Road is at 95 and
895, basically. 150, 895.
It's actually about
half a mile
3 miles north of there.
Yeah, a little north of Bensley. So that's damn near the city, but it's not, because the northern bank, which controls the river, by and large, is that area is.
Wait, Libby Hill Park, is that in Richmond?
Yes.
Okay, well then you're navigable to there.
Yeah.
You're navigable to there. You're navigable. I'm seeing big ships in the river. I'm looking down. So it tells me that's big ship navigable basically to Mayo Island. It looks like
intermediate. But the intermediate.
That's where the rapids are.
Yes.
So looking at big ships and rapids, that tells me that it's navigable up to there and no farther. But that tells me that Richmond actually is a port city.
We have actually class 3 rapids. How about that?
On the James?
Yes. In the city. It makes it's a rarity east of the Mississippi.
I'm actually looking at the rapids you're describing. Interesting. That the James would be it looks like it's pretty fun. It looks like it'd be fun in a
kayak.
Kayak,
yeah. There's a fair bit of kayaking. The two things you have to watch out for in Richmond, kayaking, are if you're upriver, are the dams.
And drunk boaters.
And drunk boaters and the dams. We lose people to the hydraulics of the dams. Even the smaller dam. People don't realize what, because we've got a good sized dam west of the city and one in the city. Well, a couple in the city. But yeah, the rapids are kind of cool. People like to just bounce out there and sun themselves on the rocks in good weather. It just looks like a festival of turtles. It really does. But we have good green space, and now people have made use of our blue space a little bit better.
We do have good green space. That's one thing about Virginia. Virginia is just almost unmatched for green space. The only place with more trees in it is Alaska.
Well,
there's a lot of trees,
and we have a lot of parks in the greater Richmond area.
I swear, I look at Virginia, it's mostly trees. It really is. There's a lot of forest still in Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Western part of the state, particularly.
Oh yeah,
heavily forested.
Yeah.
Well, we have several national forests. Imagine my shirk.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where was the...
oh my goodness gracious, I have a cat losing his mind. He's decided he's in need of all the love.
That's the one thing.
No,
that
no,
his
no, don't
brain
chew on
has
that
room
cord,
for.
you moron.
Cats are they're unitaskers.
Yes, and he gave up on the love and decided he wanted to chew on the damn cord to the dongle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're not a big enough idiot. You need to be a bigger idiot through electrocution. Yay.
Better electrocution than elocution, I always say.
Oh, dear God.
Had a teacher who used to like to say that to me. But that's not important right now. Anyway, guys, you have spent 2 hours and 5 minutes of your lives with us, and it's time for us to go. I want to thank chat for coming out, watching us, and listen to us cut up for a couple of hours, and thank my panel, my buddies,
There'll be a quiz on Richmond
Prospero and
geometry.
Harry.
Geography.
Thank you so much for coming and being with me this evening. But we're going to call it a night of nights. So the broadcast is over, and you have to go home now.